Thank you, Steve. And first, as always, I want to extend huge amounts of gratitude to the Ann Arbor District Library, to the programming staff, Emily and her whole team, and also to the tech staff, Steve. Ben, is he in there? There he is. There he is. Yeah, it's and ADL is the best. Thank you all for coming to this panel. It's again a part of, please take one of these posters. Let me just jump ahead to this point. I have so many. They make super colorful paper airplanes if you fold them right. It is like a good time. But there's also, there's five more events for the KYLYN Fest. The next one is Lynette Lau is doing a zine presentation and workshop tomorrow at 5:30 in the secret lab downstairs. Lynette has been making zines since the 90s, and she's amazing. So come on out. I can talk. I can do this. I can. I do. 5:30 tomorrow, Secret Lab. Also, I have, if somebody doesn't already have holographic stickers or wants more holographic stickers, instead of 3 inches last year, I made these 2 inches because they fit better on my laptop. So I'm selfish. I want to say a couple things about the 4 amazing people who are part of this panel. Putting together this panel to discuss this topic about the issues that are that AAPI communities have to engage with and confront right now. This was the easiest panel I had to just like the people to bring on, because these are who in my opinion are essential leaders for the API community in Metro Detroit and Southeast Michigan. We'll start with the moderator, Lily Chen. Lily just turned 30. Don't ask me how I know that, but big news. She's also copping on a flight to China tonight. So the fact that she's actually here doing this is amazing. So thank you, Lily. Lily is getting her PhD at U of M, and she works at the Detroit Historical Society. Most importantly, Lily is one of my favorite people to talk to about issues. I think like her insights is well beyond her 30 years. And I'm pretty much in awe and very comfortable if the future is we have leaders like Lily, then I think we'll be okay. If there's still a world in 3.5 years. Oh, that was a half joke. Next, we have Kristine Patnugot with, she's an amazing documentary filmmaker. Yeah, that was weird. I chose the wrong. Anyway, amazing documentary filmmaker. She's also part of Rising Voices, and I'm going to have Kristine tell you a little bit about Rising Voices, the organization. Rising Voices, to me, is the essential API-related nonprofit organization in Southeast Michigan. That was very specific, but it's true. And the work that they're doing, their advocacy, and what Kristine's bringing to the table in terms of art and culture, I think are fantastic. So thank you, Kristine. Next up, I said I'd make this short. I just realized it sounds like I'm rambling. Sherina. Okay, we're just going with first names because it's right there. Their names. Okay, Sherina is I don't know, like amazing. Like artist, poet, leader. She's one of the co-leaders of Tetra with Chase, who's not here. Is he still parking? Is he in Canton? Like, okay. Well, I hope he gets here.
Yeah, me too. As soon as we start.
Yeah, okay. Sherina and Chase, they run the Tetra, and we had a performance here like 1.5 years ago, and there were tears all around. The power of her artistry and her performance cannot be understated. Also, like Lily and Kristine, amazing to talk about issues with, because like Rubini, who's last, it's the same. It's kind of the same thing where there's certain people where you talk to them and you engage with them about topics that are tricky to talk to, that their ability to kind of cut through everything is why they're natural leaders. And Rubini is the founder of Empact. and a phenomenal photographer. Her exhibit is actually a part of KYLYN Fest, which is literally one floor below us, called Being Seen, and it was a lot of fun to put together down there, but which we did in record speed. But it is, for me, just a unbelievable display of empathy and understanding, and that kind of intimate connection between artist and subject. It couldn't come through more clearly. Topically, it's about a trans woman, and I think the amount of reflection that you offer the audience, it's awesome. I could just say awesome instead of like unbelievable, fantastic. Did I say phenomenal yet? Because I say that too much too. Phenomenal. But Kristine, if you could just give a quick spiel about Rising Voices and the work that you do before you begin. Rising Voices kindly are co-supporters of this event. And I'm done talking, because, yeah. So, where's that? Thank you. Thank you all. So, Kristine, take it away, and then Lily will be the moderator.
So I work at Rising Voices. I'm the cultural strategist, and Rising Voices is a nonprofit organization. It was started in, I think, 2020 by women who wanted to build power around progressive issues for the Asian American community. So we help get people elected. We are in Lansing. We've just gotten lobbyist status, I believe, recently. And what I do there is I connect arts and culture to political activism. So we firmly believe in the arts, and we think that this is a great space for people to like come together and build power. So,
Okay, hello. Hi, everyone. First of all, Chen, thank you so much for having all of us. The KYLYN Fest is Chen's brainchild. Watching it grow is incredible. So I'm going to start with the last question, because I was going to ask at the very end about things that we're hopeful for, things we're excited for. And I figure, you know what? We are in it. We are in it right now. So, instead of going from misery to the end, we're gonna just start with, what are the things that you guys are excited for? How do you build that your artistic practice into what you're excited for? And then later on, we'll get into what are the issues at stake. So yeah, please share with us a little bit, maybe what you do, and then also like, how does that fit into the vision that you have for our future?
oh, should I go? Oh, it's up to you. Yeah, whoever wants to go.
Hello.
Hello.
I have the honor of working on a secret project, and I often get to work on it with Kristine. So this is such a joy to be on this panel with y'all. But my secret project, I run a digital underground railroad, and it is this network of people who are working towards liberation and freedom together, and who are calling down oppression together. And what I am so excited, and what I am seeing, but what I'm so excited to magnify is, I would honestly like to use what this administration is doing and all of the energy that they're putting forth to call forth so much evil as a huge call for us to gather together and step into our power collectively and overturn that and build our own promised lands, our own like interconnecting promised lands together, adjacent to one another, helping one another, this like thought of what is your personal land of milk and honey? What would you need to be free? And what if all of our freedoms were stacked on top of each other, helping each other? That's what I'm excited to see.
I'd be happy to go next. We're looking this way. My name is Rubini. I am a visual artist, particularly through the medium of photography, and I also lead Empact, which is a community and studio practice geared around building empathy through arts, dialogue, and storytelling, often in person, but also virtual events. And just hearing this first question, which is a big one, something came to mind about like Hindu spirituality and faith, where there's actually this belief of almost just not to candy coat it, like inevitable destruction, that like in the passage of time, like that is to be expected over millennia. And in that, though, there is also the coexisting belief that by an individual contributing and kind of dedicating their innate skills and interests towards a higher goal, that there is also like individual liberation that's possible. And it's always been fascinating to me that that lives in tandem. And so in terms of hope and how I'm grounding myself, I think it's by focusing on my internal locus of control, the things that I can do to the best of my abilities, in hopes of creating some kind of fulfillment, whether it be for myself, those that I'm interacting with, maybe it's a subject in my photography or viewer or participant of our community programming. I think just that intention on what it is we're doing and why has been really the only thing that's brought me fulfillment in all of this. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Thank you, Rubini.
Thanks. I'm excited for reckoning.
Come on.
I
Yep.
think that there's a lot of reckoning going on, both internally with people, with what they will accept and what they would like, and in our world, in our government. I also am excited for going analog because I think we need these in-person gatherings. I think we need to go back to like writing and to like things that are off of our phones, even though my phone's right here. I think that we need to put these away and we need to talk to each other. And I'm excited for some of the conversations I've been having. So, yeah.
Amazing. So obviously we're all alluding to a little bit of precarity that we're complete precarity that we're living in right now. I'd love to actually really like pinpoint for each of our communities that we come from. And one of the amazing things on this panel is that, you know, we're not, I am in the academy and kind of stuck in this little bubble, but all of us are also out in our own communities, you know, practicing, really actually doing work. I'd love to know what are the kinds of pressing issues that are at the forefront of your activism, what's happening that we need to pay attention to from the communities that you come from. And I'm just gonna call it the order so we don't. Sure. Okay, Rubini, do you wanna go first?
Yeah, sure. Something that I have gotten some direct feedback about is a desire for more programming for Empact, and then also in kind of an expectable cadence. Right now, we're very much an emerging organization. Our events and programming is more pop-up style, currently in Southeast Michigan and Chicago, and to be able to strengthen our presence in each, to be able to expand our pool of facilitators so that we can have more conversation and thoughtful engagement and dialogue is something that is important in the regards to Empact. And I'm not sure if you had another layer with community, but that's what came to mind first.
Yeah, go for it. Yeah, sure.
Okay. I think the issues that are coming up most often in my communities are maybe there's two that are just like always there.
Yeah.
The first is a reckoning, to use Kristine's words, on what actual like being an accomplice is to one another.
Absolutely.
And I'm using the word accomplice instead of ally. I think we've been allies to one another, and that's not good enough anymore. What is it to really, really like be an accomplice? What do you need, and how do I stand with you in that? Which leads me to the second thing that's coming up, which is personal power. Stepping into our own power, stepping out of an old way of being. And I think in the past we've had to be, my ancestors in both of my cultures have had to survive colonization, and in that survival, there was a lot of suppressing.
Mm-hmm.
And now the things that we have used to survive, now we must we've outgrown them. They're costing us too much now. And so that suppressing is now becoming this like internal reckoning of saying no, of looking at something and saying no immediately, and trusting in our power, in ourselves and together, that we have enough fortitude to back that no up, and that our ancestors have given us in their survival so much strength that now we must be like, hell no, joyful no, no, nah, no, for ourselves and for each other.
Absolutely. I mean, one of the prime examples I'm thinking about of kind of things that we've done in order to survive as a community includes like being complicit in anti-Blackness, right? Being complicit in settler colonial, right, American empire building, includes like maybe hiding all the different ways that we actually present ourselves. So I know, Kristine, we talk about this extensively, but you know, how does this show up? We work, right, in Detroit. Like, what does this look like in our home community?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally. Oh, my turn. So yeah, I think that we need to get people to engage, because I think that a lot of people have become disenfranchised, especially with the political system. It's been very divisive. And instead of coming together around our strengths and what makes us all human, we're poking at each other constantly. And there's a lot of misinformation and a lot of apathy, unfortunately. So I think we need to be able to come together.
What does it look like practically for each of you? Like, what does it actually look like to bring us there? Because we are in a tough spot right now, where I think the more that people experience precarity, the more that it becomes like, I can't take risks, I can't, right? So what does it look like for you guys, like in your actual practice, to get our communities to push beyond those boundaries where you're constantly afraid?
It looks like joy. It looks like finding joy. It looks like finding celebration. Like a lot of the things that I am organizing this year as the cultural strategist for Rising Voices are bringing joy to people, and just like celebration and celebrating ourselves, and raising each other up.
Yeah. Did you want to add anything?
Oh, I can attest. Kristine throws the best parties and events, y'all. Like, I just, for you to know, like, between Kristine and Chen, like, it's gonna be a good time. It's gonna be a meaningful time, and we're gonna leave with love and joy and community. So Kristine is telling the absolute gospel truth there. I think in my practice with Chase there,
Hi, Chase.
it looks like spirit work. So we lead rituals, liberation rituals that are meant to confront what we have, the ghosts that we have been holding, and then to shout, dance, sing, stomp them out, and step into co-creating the future that we want to see and we deserve. So it looks like a bunch of embodied art and a bunch of like storytelling and testifying and witnessing and seeing and hearing and feeling each other to rebuild trust and to redignify ourselves. But then once we've rebuilt trust and we've redignified ourselves, to be like, let's build together what the future looks like. Like, let's not let them build our future, and then to reclaim our imagination. So I think we ask a lot, like, whose imagination do I live in? Do I live in oppression's imagination? Or does it live in mine? And if it lives in mine, I can uncreate it.
Yeah.
And so it's an uncreating together and then a recreating of what we want.
Yes. Yeah. Rubini, I don't know if you want to add anything.
Yeah. At Empact, we view inner healing and social justice as flowing in and of each other, that by tending to ourselves, we can more intentionally tend to the collective. And it's been really meaningful to come together to have like safe space dialogue on topics that we might not always be able to give time towards in our day-to-day, just like happenings, or even with friends and loved ones, just to be able to instead show up intentionally to say there's a facilitated dialogue around, let's say, identity, art making, and play, and just be able to channel processing together in that continuum of like, how am I, but how am I really? And having this acknowledgement of this active backdrop of colonization, cis heteropatriarchy, like just being able to integrate that continuum has been, I think, really important to us.
Thank you. Yeah. You guys have already hit on kind of one of the main ideas that we kind of want to address as a collective, which is like the power of art, the power of play, the power of joy. And it's tough to talk about these things in times of literal genocide, right? So I wanted to give some space to read a little bit from Audre Lorde's poetry, Is Not a Luxury, and to have you guys respond, and how does it fit in for your lives? So if you are unfamiliar with this essay, it's from 1985. Audre Lorde is really responding to the tools that we have, right? And why something like art matters. So she says, for each of us, there is a dark place within where hidden and growing our true spirit rises, beautiful and tough as chestnut stanchions. English is not my first language, against our nightmare of weakness and of impotence. These places of possibility within ourselves are dark because they are ancient and hidden. They have survived and grown strong through darkness. Within these deep places, each one of us holds an incredible reserve of creativity and power. And these folks are such proof of that, of unexamined and unrecorded emotion and feeling. This place of power within each of us is neither white nor surface. It is dark, it is ancient, and it is deep. And at this point in time, I believe that women carry within ourselves the possibility for fusion of two approaches as keystone for survival, and we come closest to this combination in our poetry. I speak here of poetry as the revelation or distillation of experience, not the sterile wordplay that too often the white fathers distorted the word poetry to mean in order to cover their desperate wish for imagination without insight. So for women, then, poetry is not a luxury. It is a vital necessity of our existence. It forms the quality of the light within which we predicate our hopes and dreams toward survival and change, first made into language, then into idea, then into more tangible action. So something that, of course, is the foundation for so many of us as women of color. I'm curious, what does that mean for you? What does it look like in your practice? And you've already, kind of made this connection, but what does it look like to do art in a time of genocide?
I think we all need a second to process.
Yeah. Oh, Rubini, I think you were going to say something.
Yeah, just two thoughts, not necessarily fully baked, but two thoughts did pop into mind as you were reading that, which thank you. I think the word portal came up. And I was just thinking how for myself, I think my portal is my camera, and that maybe we each have a portal or more than one portal, something that helps actively process and kind of, in my case, and I don't mean to jump ahead to the artist talk that will be coming, but like this is also just helpful in preparation of like thinking about, I think photography and my camera becomes a way for me to learn about different communities outside of myself. It's a privilege to be able to do that, and a camera can be a great excuse with the right amount of respect and intentionality. At the same time, I think for me, my portal of a camera also turns inwards, and my photographic exploration started more so in explorations of my own identity and Indian diaspora. And actually, even just on my drive here, I was thinking about that concept and how the camera for me goes both ways. And the word portal just had me reflecting on what each of our portals might be.
Yeah, and it speaks to how you were saying, like, we start with ourselves before we, are able to kind of get to a space of collective liberation. Yeah.
I can jump in, and thank you for that. Thank you, and thank you for the reading. Audre Lorde, when I grew up in this private school where I was outnumbered in every way possible, and Audre Lorde saved my life every day. Every single day there were, I did not feel alone. So I wrapped myself in this kind of like world of poetry and hip hop and music and kind of tuned out any of the hatred. We have a saying in Tetra, our secret project. Do you know what we do in the dark? We get free. And there's this understanding that in this dark place inside of us is where our true selves are, where the knowing is, where our ancestral work is. And my ancestors knew what to do with all of this. We've done this before. We've conquered this before. We've overturned this before. And if I can get quiet enough to go inside to that place and tune out all of that, then I know what to do. And then the cool thing is, when I'm connected to that place inside of myself, I start connecting with other people who are connected to that place inside of themselves. So, here is Toko Shiki, one of the most amazing directors who took my secret project, and I'm trying to describe to her like this inner place inside, because I'm not Audrey. And Toko's like, maybe it looks like this, and maybe it feels like this. And Toko's inner knowing of her own place, where we know what to do with this, connected with mine, connected with Chase's, connected with Chen's, connected with Kristine, and now we're in Kyung-hee and Kim, and we're all now in this like web of knowing. And I look at the precarity and this administration and all of their nonsense, and there's nothing that they're doing that can stand against this web of nothing that can stand against this like intergenerational, goes all the way back to the beginning of time web of knowing, especially when our webs are together.
Tied, yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you, Sherina.
Thank you. And thank you both. For me, when I think about darkness, I think about darkness as a place where you can take your mask off.
Come on.
And you can be completely yourself. But we're also taught to fear the darkness, and we're taught to fear like ourselves. And we're also taught to not sit with ourselves. So, yeah.
Yeah. We're, Sherina's referencing, of course, like this kind of history of Black feminism, women of color feminism, third world feminism that really decades ago kind of built a vision of our collective liberation. And I think all of us probably ground ourselves in that. And it's very interesting that Chen kind of curated this particular panel because for me, at least, I think I do believe that the future is like women of color led, right? And there's something very real to that legacy of women of color feminism. So I'm curious, like, how does intersectionality show up in your work? How does even, we have flattened what identity politics means, right? It's become part of, almost part of like it could be even part of the right, where it becomes this very like simple thing that you just kind of carry a backpack but of identities, when in reality, right, to what Sherina is saying, like this is ancestral knowledge. This is stuff that we're talking about, generations of power that we hold. I'd love to hear like, yeah, how do you see intersectionality showing up in your work? How have you also like changed your ideas about it over time?
I mean, at Rising Voices, we very much believe in intersectionality. We are, as Asian Americans, at the crossroads of so many different identities. And we also very much champion queer identity as well. And you can't be a whole person without seeing all the different parts of you. And so we very much believe that that's what we need to look at.
Yeah. something that I know because we work together is that that's not universally accepted in our
Yeah.
communities, right? So I don't know if you can speak a little to what that's like. Where does the conflict arise, and what does it look like to get beyond that, right? And to say, like, no, we're not going to only prioritize certain populations and have them be the face of our liberation.
Yeah. I mean, it's complicated because
Yeah.
we all come from different traditions, from different cultures. We also come with different complicated histories of colonization and imperialism. And
Yeah.
so to unpack that and unravel it, and then also understand how it works in this land that we're in, where there's also a whole lot of other things going on with indigenous cultures that have also experienced genocide. Like,
Absolutely.
there's just so many things at play that communication and just openness and a willingness to listen to each other is super important. So that's the only way we can get through it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you, Kristine. Sherina?
I will take this like a really personal place, maybe.
Please.
I have been sitting with the dark place inside of myself, and in this practice of communing with my ancestors. And what I find is that I have, like, even studying my genealogy, I have ancestors on both sides who were freedom fighters. So I think I was supposed to be a freedom fighter, who have these very rich stories. And I will sit at my altar and get pieces of the story and then start talking to my elders and asking questions. And they're like, okay, how do you know this? I don't know. But it's channeling and memory. And, you know, if I sit and I think about, like, what did you do during genocide? What did you do during war?
Yeah.
What did you do during slavery? And these are things that were overturned.
Yeah.
What happened? And then I get these, like, almost meditations. You know, this is what you need. This is how you need to move. This is who you need to talk to. And in the places where there has been harm between my cultures, my father's from Detroit, he's Black. My mother is from the Philippines. I sit with, where did colonization teach you to hate me? And where did colonization teach you to hate me? And do you hate me? What are you afraid of? What are you protecting? And asking those questions over and over and over again until somebody in my ancestral line answers them. And what are you willing to do to make this right? What are you willing to do to reckon? How are you going to heal this? Because I know you didn't put me here for this to be unhealed.
Yeah.
So what are we going to do about this is something that I find myself holding myself and my ancestral line always accountable. What are we going to do about this? Now. Like, not later, now. And all these stories come pouring forth. And then this magical thing happens where I start in real life meeting the people that I need to know. And we start talking about this and building these bridges, and the healing is coming. And I take the healing back to them.
Thank you.
As someone who just is drawn to ancestral work, that was really beautiful. So thank you for sharing. And in regards to intersectionality, there's a lot that could be said, but one thing that comes to mind is, to me, like, how intersectionality and the framework of intersectionality can talk to, I think it's called, like, the matrix of domination, and, like, my interpretation of it is, in short, like, different ways that we each have power and hierarchy in different realms. So monetary or age or ableism, or, you know, there's so many different ways to go about it. But something that I have found very freeing at Empact is we began our programming by calling that to the forefront and saying, this is something we're acknowledging and is open to critique and conversation in this space. And I think the permission to do that is rare because so many spaces don't do that. And to be able to say, like, we're acknowledging the active backdrop of colonization, you know, like just being able to bring these things to the forefront then changes the texture of conversation that we can have if we're agreeing to that set of agreements in this space. And in doing so, I've just found it to lead to really meaningful discussion with people who might be my friends, might be coworkers, might be a stranger, but we're able to learn more about each other and connect on a more intimate level in a safe space discussion. And I feel like that is so incredibly important in a time like this.
Thank you. I mean, something that all of you are speaking to is, you know, not only do we have to deal with the weight of the oppression that we've lived through, but also a sense of responsibility, right? And even now, right, like today we're sitting on Anishinaabe land, right, that was stolen and continues to be stolen, right? And we're so lucky here in Michigan to have 12 federally recognized tribes, even more state recognized tribes, but all of this land is Anishinaabe land, right, and does not belong to us. And so something that we have responsibility to is not only, right, that Indigenous history, also the very real history of slavery in Detroit, slavery in this area, right, this kind of false pretense that the North was kind of free of that guilt, right, we know is completely false. I'm very curious for you guys, like, you know, sometimes we hear things like, okay, well, everything needs to be safe for ourselves before we seek safety for others, right? Before we seek liberation for others. I'm curious, like, what would you respond to that? What are some specific kind of calls to action or things that you would tell our community, our own community, to say, like, we do have a responsibility to other people and that actually we cannot be liberated without liberating all of us. You know, I'm curious how that comes up in your work, what you would say to people who would say, like, well, how are you supposed to help other people if you can't, you know, if you're not standing up yourself or something like that?
I just want to say, if we don't, who's left? Like, at some point, who's left? Like, if we wait for it to affect us, we might be the only ones standing, and then no one will be there to hear us scream. So,
Amen. Yeah.
yeah.
I will second that by saying, for me, I make myself safe by being in right relationship with my own integrity. And my integrity knows right and wrong. And if someone is hurting you, I know that's wrong. I know that's wrong. And the fastest way to make myself unsafe is to let that wrong happen and not step into my power. I'm unsafe, you're unsafe, we're all unsafe.
Yeah.
I am safe when I know that is wrong. I know my power here, and I hope that my power will ignite everyone else's, because the more we're in integrity, in right relationship with our own integrity, the more this turns over. So I make myself safe by making sure you're safe.
Absolutely.
For me, the phrase "pay it forward" comes to mind. At least within my Indian diaspora and community, I think I have definitely witnessed like an overlook of privilege, and to be able to counter that with, well, what are the things and factors and people and movements that have afforded you the freedoms that you have, the privileges that you have now, whether that's education, whether that's a job, whether that's fleeing violence. Within the context of India, too, colonization is an interesting conversation because it's, instead of settler colonialism, it's this this ongoing grappling, like including right now violence along the border of India and Pakistan, to very much like an effect of colonization and turbulent like borders that were enforced. And so, yeah, just I think this idea of pay it forward. What are the things that have attributed to that for oneself, and being able to keep it going?
Yeah. Thank you. I mean, you're speaking to the diaspora. I'm hearing like, I mean, I think I come from also, this is not my homelands, right? I'm, you know, I firmly believe that there is a revolution that comes from diasporic peoples, right? But I'd love to know, like, what is that? What is kind of unique about our position as people that are diasporic, from whether that's like willing or unwilling, right, diasporic individuals? What is it that we bring to the table? Why is it that the revolution can come from us? I don't know, Rubini, if you wanted to start.
I'm just smiling because that's beautiful. Yeah, I feel sometimes like a frustration with my diasporic identity.
Oh, yeah. Listen, I'm about to go back to China today, where like I will be judged on my language skills every 5 minutes of my life. Yes, absolutely, absolutely.
But then to be able to just be like, what are the strengths that a diasporic experience can have, I think is just, it's a really nice question that I'll sit with after this too. Yeah, I might need another moment to gather my thoughts on that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Again, to take it somewhere personal, I remember my mom is now an ancestor, and before she passed, she really wanted to go home. Like, really wanted to go home.
Yeah.
She was, her health was, you know, a little precarious, and, you know, she's like, there's so much better care at home. And I remember hearing her say that and feeling like this country has failed her, and that maybe I failed her. And so I apologized to her. I said, Mom, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry that, you know, you came here and that America did not hold you the way it's supposed to.
Yeah.
And I asked her, I was like, you know, tell me why did you come here? And she said, to have you. She said, I knew somewhere inside of me that I was supposed to come here and have a daughter. What? And I was very confused by this for a really long time because, you know, like, what's the difference between like, here, all the way here, and then me? You know, like, what does that mean? And she and I used to sit at this spot that my grandfather, on my father's side, showed us, and it's a place that I go to often with Toko. Midnight. Detroit was midnight on the Underground Railroad. It was codenamed Midnight because it's the last stop before freedom, the freedom of Canada. And my mom and I used to sit there and look at Canada together. And I'm now, after she's gone, or an ancestor, she's not gone, realizing that she needed to come to midnight to have me. And that there's something very important about bringing her piece of the diaspora to my father's piece of the African diaspora to this place, Michigan, because it's reckoning ground.
Yeah.
It's the last stop before freedom.
Yeah.
And that all of these pieces of the diaspora have to find each other because our ancestors knew how to decolonize, knew how to transform things. And if they find each other here on this place, in this reckoning ground, and we all find each other, we will reckon, but we will tear this thing down and build what we were supposed to build. That's what I think.
Oh my gosh. Some of my friends will know I kind of wrote a very angry manifesto about why Michigan matters. Not angry, but just like a very like And because I think there's this way it can be like, oh, it's a swing state, da da da, right? What you're bringing up is, no, this is a deep history we have here. And I'm going to ask you guys to speak to this too, but for me, like, there's so many things that make this space important. One of them is, of course, the lakes, the fact that we have pipelines that are being forced through these lakes, right? We have also the densest Arab population outside of any Arab area, right? We have, and we also have, again, all of these federally recognized Native tribes. We have the blackest city in America. This is the space of revolution, right? Kristine, I don't know if you wanted to speak to, like, why does Detroit matter? Why does Michigan matter? Why does this area matter? And Rubini too.
Yeah. I think about when I went to, I think it was one of the first times I met you, it was during the Detroit's Chinatown opening. And you had mentioned that Detroit was one of the only places that Chinese Americans were allowed to have families. And that's major. Like, I think that's so important to be able to have family and to congregate together. Like, Sherina's my cousin, so her story was very moving to me too. Yeah, I think it's just special because it is this intersection, and it is also a space that is a border.
Absolutely.
And when you sit at the border, you can see both sides of things. And I think for marginalized people especially, we can, like, we see both the inside within, and we also see it from the outside.
Yeah.
And that's a special place because we can see the cracks.
Absolutely. I mean, even as a border, like, I know that Ann Arbor, especially U of M, is experiencing policing not only by police, but also by immigration officials. And something that I always keep in mind is that's something that's been in reality in Detroit since day one. We have been a border, right?
Yes.
And we see ICE. I see ICE all the time.
Yeah.
You just, I mean, you're driving, there's CBP, there's ICE all the time, right? We're dealing with precarity. And something very interesting about precarity that you guys are touching on is, like, it also is a potential then, right, for radical reimagining of what we can do and what we can be. Rubini, I don't know if you wanted to speak to, like, the Great Lakes, Michigan, the Great Lakes region.
Yeah, and I have some more formulated thoughts on the previous question about diaspora too that I think blends in with this.
Yeah.
So I can share, I think, based on my experiences with my diaspora, I have this. Thanks, Chen. There we are. This. Honestly, like, a deep longing for my ancestral land. I had been back and forth quite a bit prior to COVID. And the last I was in India, I had been living there for 12 months and just miss it deeply. My grandfather had passed, and he used to be like a conduit to my relationship to India too, in between. And so when I go back later this year, I'm excited to find my new footing. I mention that, though, because I think with the diaspora part of things, for me, it's access to learning about myself and my roots and my heritage and ancestral wisdom within my heritage of Indian and Tamil culture, and super curious to learn more about, like, what did Tamil feminists do during the British rule? Like, I really just want to, like, dive into this. And then also, though, with diaspora and being able to move between places, my career started a bit of an unexpected way in international development. And so I have had the deep honor, I think, and privilege of being able to be in different regions and different cultures and get to know individuals and communities at a very grassroots level, from, like, nonprofit programming in East Africa or Latin America. And I mention that because the term well-traveled comes to mind, not necessarily in the sense of, like, physically going to places, though that can be one part of it. But I think with diaspora, there is this ability and this I think this unique access that we can tap into to be more traveled, even intellectually, even spiritually, just by seeing and engaging with more cultures outside of the immediate one that we might be experiencing. And that is very much also met with being judged at times for my ability to speak when I'm back in India. Being at the Million in New Delhi, where it's Hindi dominant, was not a good experience. But I guess to bring it to the Michigan question, with my different geographic moves, which have also included a number of places in the US, I unexpectedly came back to Michigan, tail end of the pandemic, and had sat and wrestled with, and in some ways, those are recent reflections too, of being like, is this the place that I want to be in now? And now it's been a handful of years, but one thing that grounds me is thinking about how Southeast Michigan received my Indian immigrant parents during the 80s and 90s, and that it now is where they've lived for more than half of their lives.
Yeah.
And I just feel like it's not a mistake, and that there is this incredible diversity and incredible richness that I find very beautiful and worth cherishing, and to then go back further in history and recognize all of the things that you had said about what this geographic area, which we can't even call Detroit, like has meant for people.
Absolutely. Yeah, this is the land of Wawayatanong, right?
Yeah.
This is land that was defined right long before we got something like Detroit, right, as a name. So thank you for bringing that up. I'm hearing you speak about, generations, right? This is kind of like a big theme in our community, is the ties between generations. It can be a very beautiful thing. It can be a very, very difficult thing. I'm just thinking about like my conversation with Chen. So my mom problems today and my dad problems today. Something that's happening in my 30s, because I am now 30.
Hey.
I actually turned 30 today.
Happy birthday!
Sorry, all of you already celebrated. We don't need to do that.
We do.
Yes, we do.
We do.
Thank you.
Happy birthday.
One of the kind of myths that as a young person I always kind of believed was like, oh, my parents, they don't understand anything. And, all the young people hold all the knowledge. As you get older, you realize like, oh, wait a minute. Like, we don't know anything.
We might know something.
Yeah, I'm curious, like, how do you guys make sense of generational relationships in our communities? What is it that our older generations bring to the table? And maybe what is it that we seek for young people? I teach like 18-year-olds now. I'm like, whoa, like, wow, they have to carry forward. I mean, they're living in a world that's on fire, So I'm curious what you would speak to, like these generational things, the things that, maybe even how your perspectives have changed on your generational ties.
Oh, can I go?
Yes. Kristine, let's go.
Food. Oh my gosh, food. I mean, that's on the surface level food, but like food is love. And I think that they bring this very special way of expressing through food.
Yeah.
It's really beautiful. And I get really sad at the thought that that's getting lost as we become more American, or as we like live here longer. Yeah, and I mean, they also just have history and experience, and my parents are here, so it makes me kind of nervous to talk about. But it's just funny. It's like time goes by so fast, and you don't notice, and then one day everyone's older, and yeah, I think it's important to like cherish the knowledge that they bring.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I'm okay.
I mean, something that Kristine and I have talked about in my experience, I had a very difficult time we'd say coming out. And it took about maybe 7 years for my parents to kind of come around to it. And throughout all 7 years, they fed me. And there was never a moment where it would be a question whether or not they would feed me. And so, to our elders in the room, I learned how much I was loved because I never was hungry. And that meant so much. And it didn't really matter if it was like, we recognize your marriage, we recognize your sexuality, we recognize your gender. It was like, you'll always keep me fed.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Ooh.
Rubini?
Sure. I love the word intergenerational. I think we need more intergenerational things and experiences. One of my photography projects is collaborating with someone who is living with an onset of Parkinson's. And he's probably one of the people that I spent the most number of hours with, maybe last year. And I just feel like a simple word would be thankful, but I think there's more to it. I think by having a cross section of ages that we interact with, there's just so much we can learn from one another, but then in the umbrella of intergenerational for our own identity and communities, I think that's one of the reasons why I have chosen to stay in Michigan, is to be in the company or like proximity of my folks and not have regrets later, about it. Some of my art is also related to my family's immigrant journey, looking at lineage from the perspective of intergenerational experiences as well. And so, yeah, it's very much a topic that I value, and I so appreciate what you said too about like the love and care that can be often like embedded and overlooked within Eastern cultures as well. And yeah, it's a really nice reflection that you shared.
Yeah.
I'm gonna start some stuff.
Yeah, let's go.
I'm gonna start it. I have learned to make the distinction between elder and older.
Mm-hmm.
And, in my family, there are some old people
Mm-hmm.
and there are some elders.
Mm-hmm.
I think for me, the rubric has been, now everybody deserves respect and care and love. But for me, the rubric has been, asking myself there's something to learn from everyone, but who do I want to be guided by? Who do I trust my soul with? And, who am I here to watch and learn what not to do? And who am I here to,
Yep.
to be guided?
Exactly.
And my rubric for that has been really studying the generations before me and who were they in the face of colonization?
Yeah.
How much of, we all had to swallow. How much of it did they swallow, and what parts of themselves, did it touch? Understanding that none of it is ever any of our fault. But there are places where it's a poison. And we've had to swallow poison. And some of us have been able to build immunities in that. And some of us have had to allow ourselves to be swallowed to survive. And that's so painful because we're taught in our communities that everyone is an elder and deserves deep, deep, deep respect. And not everybody knows things that I should listen to. And not everyone is safe because, of the poisons that they've had to swallow. So I try to come at it with a great deal of compassion, but also a great deal of discernment.
Yeah.
Like, who do I want to talk to? I want to talk to those two people in the back of the room right there. They are they are my chosen guides, whom I love very, 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 very deeply. And I look at both of my cultures and I'm like, okay, who's got the antidote and who's holding the poison? And I'm grateful for both.
Yeah, absolutely. Chen, should we go to questions? Oh, sure. Okay.
I need the steps after. Any questions?
You said I'm crying.
I was recently told that I need to cry more. So I'll put that into practice. I'm doing it. We're doing it.
Well, kind of goes back to the darkness and the light. It's like not until you know your darkness can you find your light or
Yeah.
your like very authentic light, I think.
Yeah.
So like that takes a lot of sitting and crying sometimes.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. Absolutely.
And a visual just came to mind of like in a cocoon, it's dark.
Come on.
Oh.
Yeah.
It requires that quietness sometimes.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
tease a lot in Tetra about cocoons and the willingness to become goo in order to fly, like to take it inside of you and become unraveled, but to unravel the oppression off of us so we can actually fly. So thank you for saying that.
That's amazing. Yeah, we'd love to hear from you. Even if it's not a question, I think we'd love to hear from you because we need to build our liberation together. So we would love to meet all of you. Yeah.
Can I actually make one little political plug? I'm sorry. I mean, I'm not sorry. I work at Rising Voices. This is who we are. Right now, the Alien Land Laws Act, I think new, is it an act or bill? There are alien land laws, basically, that in the early 1900s were used to keep Chinese Americans and Japanese Americans from owning land. And right now, it's passed through the State House. It's going to the State Senate. And if this becomes law, it means foreign entities or foreign nationals, which includes people who weren't born here but are actually citizens, I think, too, will not be able to own land, like farmland, will also not be able to own land within a certain amount of space at the border. And I think, I mean, I could be wrong. I read this and I'm totally forgetting what the number is. I don't remember if it's 5 miles or 50, which is a totally big difference, but I know I live in the West Village of Detroit right now. It is within 5 miles of the international border, and I would not be able to buy a house where I live, essentially. So most of Detroit is so close to the border that it would eliminate the possibility. And right now, Detroit is so diverse with so many different ethnic communities that come from other countries. It would prohibit the buying of land, and it's super messed up. So please get involved, and yeah, please find out more.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we have so many, I mean, we've been talking about land and water, our ties to this land, and the precarity of land has been at play, right? I mean, Native communities have been prevented from buying literally land close to borders all throughout the state of Michigan. This is happening, and it's a way to wrest power, right? So, okay, I know we had a question, but thank you, Kristine, for bringing that up.
Yeah.
As the question's coming, let's tear that up. Let's energetically, spiritually,
Oh, yeah.
I
physically
don't have
tear
a
that
question. I just wanted to thank you all. This has been an amazingly powerful and honest, and you've shared like such personal things. And I know I'm going to be thinking about a lot of these things. I've been typing notes furiously, but thank you guys all. It was, it's been an excellent conversation.
Thank you.
Kim.
I think there was a question.
Just for the benefit of the recording, I am one of those, I guess, being affected. Like, I've lived here in the US since I was 3. I'm not a citizen, I'm a permanent resident. So that would, I would be included in those restrictions. And I also just want to say thank you for this whole conversation. It was very moving. A lot of things to think about and take back to, like, not only my community, my friends and family. These kinds of conversations are things that we don't talk about enough. So it was really great to hear all of these perspectives and, some of the things that I've been thinking about, like in my dark places, like just trying to give form to the ideas and thoughts. It was great to hear some of those reflected in the panel today. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all for such a wonderful panel. I've been reflecting as I'm listening, and we've talked a lot about our elders, our ancestors, the diaspora that we are all a part of in some way or somehow. And thinking about the title of the panel, Make Tomorrow Today, I'm also thinking about legacies. This year marks the 50th anniversary of the arrival of Southeast Asian refugees to the United States. And I'm thinking as a Hmong American refugee about the future and what I'm building in the work that I do and what I can pass on to the youth. And so my question for you all is, what do our next generations have to look forward to based on what you all are all working on individually?
Thank you. Thank you for the question.
For younger generations, I think there's a potential opportunity to create the realities and experiences that they want. And I feel like I'm learning so much from the change makers that are younger than me too, in terms of their own visions. And it's kind of a half-baked answer at this point, but I think to just boldly and courageously step into their own visions and rejecting what doesn't sit well, while finding a way to maneuver. It's not easy, but I would like to think that there is a way to keep momentum going in a direction that can be something to look forward to. Going back to that word of imagining too, I'm like, stepping into imagined futures.
I have a mentor, an elder that I love very much. Her name is Louise Satish, and she speaks often about decolonizing, but the flip side of that being re-indigenizing.
Mm-hmm.
And that is something that I am so excited to pass forward. This idea that, at least for me, the way I look at what's going on now as a horrible opportunity. That power cannot be created or destroyed, but it can be transformed. And there is so much energy right now. And I see us as lightning bolts for that energy, and to take that energy, decolonize and re-indigenize, to call forth the best of our lines, the highest of our lines, to call that forth. I'm looking around the room and there's just genius in here. Genius, transmuters, transcenders, who do this through lenses and film, and to call forth the absolute highest of our line, and to take all of this energy and to transmute it into what I think we're now all being called to do, which is the highest good. What is the highest good? And to use all of our forms together, transmute it into the highest good, and to pass that forward to the next generation, knowing that as we pass it forward, the healing of that, we're standing on the shoulders of all of our ancestors who are passing their light forward. And as we pass that forward with our own genius attached to it, what we will send back to these ancestors who have sacrificed and survived and poured their own genius forth is healing. And so we're centering energy both ways. And that's what I'm really excited to do.
Thank you. And to add to that, I am really excited because I've I know a lot of people with children right now who are teenagers or like on the verge of becoming teenagers. And I think about the language that they have with which to speak about their inner worlds, and it's so beautiful. And it's just like, I don't know why I'm so emotional. I think I'm always just emotional lately. But I think that the language that they have and that they are being taught is so amazing because so many of us had language ripped from us.
Come on. Yeah.
Yeah, like indigenous cultures as a way to assimilate. And it's amazing to like see it. So yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I can speak to personally, my little brother also turns 18 today, which is very crazy.
You have the same birthday?
Yes.
Gosh.
Don't think about it too hard.
We won't.
This kid thinks about the world in such incredible ways. And, you know, I go forth and think like, oh, I know my shit. No, young people,
Yeah.
they are moving through the world with such confidence.
Yeah.
And the kinds of things, the way that he thinks about, for example, like queer sociality, you know, he has a language for neurodivergence that would have changed my life.
Totally.
Would have changed my life. And I never had those tools. And it's not neurodivergence in this like kind of way that we see it in a toxic way where it's you get kind of white masculinity being shielded. No, he's talking about really like young people of color having a different kind of moving through the world, right? And he has a language for that. It's beautiful to see that. Young people also move through time and have an understanding of time in a different way because unfortunately, like I think I'm still part of the generation where we're kind of a little more Protestant ethic, like we, you know, we get up and we have work days and all this kind of thing. But young people like are completely reimagining their relationship to labor, their relationship to time, their relationship to the work week.
Yes.
It's incredible. And they're
Yes.
making demands for what they deserve that we were taught to just sacrifice.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
And so it's incredible to see what they're willing to do. And I think we get a lot of complaints that young people are just kind of, quote, lazy. But in reality, it's like they're actually demanding what they deserve as a result of the oppressions that they've dealt with. Right.
Yes.
And they are rewriting our relationship to time, which is incredible. So thank you for such an incredible question. Yeah.
Maybe I'll just add one quick metaphor. It was actually at a talk I heard at U of M earlier this year. Deepa Iyer had come to speak, who, if you may be familiar with her social change ecosystem, she basically offers this concept that there's different ways we can show up in social justice and liberation movements with no one role being better or worse than another. So for instance, like a visionary is just as important as a builder, is just as important as a healer, is just as important as a weaver, and it goes on. But in her seminar, she had offered this framework of like break, set, heal, that when a bone is broken, there is an opportunity to reset it. And just in how we're thinking about like future facing conversations and directions, like I know we've used the word reimagine, but this also is coming to mind and I just thought to share it.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you. Good? Okay. All right. I could literally sit here and talk with all of you for hours. Chen, thank you so much for giving us this opportunity. This is incredible. Chen, you're amazing. Please tell us the next event to look forward to in the KYLYN Fest. And
Yes.
Yeah, as I said, Lynette Lau's workshop is next tomorrow. Not tomorrow. It's tomorrow. And then I cannot. Lynette's amazing, and it's going to be a fantastic workshop. And I, you know, as a Gen Xer, I'm a big fan of zines and zine culture. So the fact that she's going to be able to talk about zines and show people, it's going to be fantastic. Next Friday, the 16th, I'm also super excited for, which is going to be a live score, and they're to a silent film called Jiraiya the Hero. It's a 1921 Japanese film. But I'm bringing in three musicians, improvisers from Chicago, Mai Sugimoto, Haruhi Kobayashi, and Kyoto Aoki, and they'll be live scoring that. It's 21 minutes, and part of the reason for that is that when we think about the history of film, we have a tendency to think about film as being very Western, that it was all created in the West. And I think for me watching part of what's going on, long story short, there's a whole world of film restoration and right now. And what's emerging is this reality there's a whole hidden history of undiscovered silent films made around the world. And there are robust studios and creators making silent film, but a lot of them were lost to time. And now these restoration societies are doing such meticulous work bringing it back and restoring this actual storyline of where film comes from. And if you watch Jirai the Hero just on its own, you would be shocked by the amount of how they do the effects. There's a thing with magic toads. So it's samurais, magic toads, and if that's not enough for a cell, I don't know what to tell you. Like, it's extraordinarily innovative, and if you think this was like over 100 years ago, but also they're going to be joined afterwards for an improvised set with the saxophonist Marcus Elliott and Angelic, who's a harpist. So it's going to be like music-wise, it's going to be the best time. So that's next Friday at 6. And then after that, it will be a writing workshop with Francis Kai-Hua Wong called Writing to Save Our Lives.
Yes.
Go, Francis.
And then
Francis.
the 28th, the return of Rubini. For her artist talk about being seen, the exhibit downstairs. I do want to thank you all for doing this. I will say, if anyone here is ever thinking about organizing and putting together a panel, the easiest thing to do is find people who are smarter than you and more articulate, and it's gonna be gold, baby, gold. And guys, thank you so much. You know, Sherina, you said that it's about doing the highest good and being able to talk openly and candidly, and again, with such beautiful articulation. And that is the highest good. And what we're seeing now are these, forces trying to silence us and separate us and cause division. And this, for me, is a moment of joy to be able to hear all of your stories and your opinions and your insight. So one more time for Rubini Naidu. Sherina Rodriguez Sharpe. Kristine Patnugot. Our moderator, Lily Chen, who we're going to sing happy birthday to. That's what's up.
No.
Shouldn't have said it.
No.
It's on you.
No.
You said it.
No,
Who's gonna start?
We're good.
Am I going to start?